Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. With over 1,000 NCAA commitments, the EHL is the proven path to college. Turn it up and learn more about the college placement leader at the Division II and III levels.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto: we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who have experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. Once again, my name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 41 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, I bring Ryan Garrow and David Rosales back on the podcast for the second time, and we discuss how to train and prepare with a constantly changing game and practice schedule. We review the previous week in the E-Show and give an outlook as well on the week ahead, and we get caught up with the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge. To kick things off, though, here's the interview with Ryan and David. I'm joined now by Ryan Garrow and David Rosales. How's it going, guys?
Good, Neil. Thanks for having us.
I was getting prepared for this podcast, and I was like, you know what? Let's go back and look and see when I had you two on last. I was like, feels like it wasn't that long ago. It was April 13th. Like, that is just crazy to think about. And that was the second podcast I had of the off season. And personally, I'm not going to get into the political side of the COVID stuff, but at the time, the tone of our interview was, this isn't going to last that long. It's still here. How has it affected you guys?
Man, it's been a crazy few months. Yeah, it's pretty much uprooted. I think for Ryan, it's probably worse. I'm very fortunate. I've had all my work is virtual and online, so that's good, and school as well. But I know Ryan was starting a new job, so I'm curious to hear his experience on it.
Let's start with that, Ryan. You're the new head and strength coach, new head strength coach and conditioning coach at St. Michael's College. Obviously, you don't want to start in a year like this year, but maybe jumping both feet in a year like this year has made it that much easier a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. When I, obviously the interview had, high expectations of for myself and of me working with all 21 teams. And then, with the COVID, it kind of made it more intimate working with teams because I had to work with smaller groups. So it was easier for me to learn names of the ladies and the men that I was working with. And it was fun. We made the most of it. And, I was supposed to start in March, but then obviously COVID, when we talked last in April. And then I was just communicating through, online platforms and programming and just checking in with athletes through social media and through different outlets with text messages and things like that. So, it was cool to get to know people from there. And now I'm finally meeting them in person. We started outside training for the first 2 phases. Each phase is 2 weeks, and we're following all the COVID guidelines. And knock on wood, we only have one test. It's a non-athlete, so we're doing things the right way, and we're sanitizing everything. And the gym is extra clean, and it's clean it's ever been. And athletes are buying in and they're wearing mask. You have to wear a mask, and it's just the cringing word of the new normal. I hate that word, but it's just what we're dealing with, and we're making the most of it right now.
So did you feel like you wanted to ease into things, and then is it safe to say that having everything play out the way that it did, you had to just kind of jump in that much faster because of everything going on? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you had to, like you said, just take it and run with it. And just what we were given, I was going to be all 21 teams right at once. So it's I started with winter sports only just to phase them in, because I had, like, for men's ice hockey, and women's ice hockey, I have 3 different pods, and they're all doing the similar workout. And that's, 6 hours in one day just for one team or 2 teams.
Yeah.
So it felt like, those 2 weeks felt like 4 months working with pods. But I think the athletes benefited from it just from more attention. And then I benefited from it just from a relationship standpoint.
And then David, a college athlete yourself, not at St. Michael's College, but in New York City. Like, it looks like you're there. You said you're there. Obviously, for some students, they didn't get the chance to go back. Was that ever a debate in your mind, or did you always want to go back?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go back just for my personal sanity. I was traveling, but I went out to Los Angeles and then came back to New York. So I'm not like tied down in New York, and we're currently not playing, but it is nice to be back in the city, and the city's getting some life back to it. So
How safe do you feel in the environment that you're in?
New Yorkers are tough human beings. New Yorkers do what they have to do. They've been through a lot. They've been through 9/11. They've been through COVID, and everyone wears masks. Everyone respects social distancing, and that's why New York is one of the models for the United States and how to deal with COVID.
And as a former player and strength coach in the league, I want to get into this podcast with, how you would deal with it. If you were still a player in the league, how Ryan would deal with it if he was, training some of our players. I don't want to focus entirely on the Vermont Lumberjacks, but there is no team that has had it more challenging than the Vermont Lumberjacks so far this year. Like I said, I don't want to get into like who's had COVID cases, this or that, but for Vermont, there are restrictions, as I've said on the podcast with the E-Crew. It's just crazy to process because even if, they wanted to play, it's a matter of what county the team is coming from or where they're going to. And there's not a lot of green zones. So I'm not sure which one of you wants to start with this, but how do you prepare as an athlete at times when you don't even know where you're going to play your next game?
I'll start because I was the more recent athlete here. I've been saying in 2020, there's one thing that's obsolete, and that's making plans. Like making plans in 2020 just don't go together. And that's been really hard as strength coaches because we love to, let's make our 4-week block. Let's make our 12-week mesocycle, right? Yeah. And we've had to really throw out the window. And players also really love to have their routines. They have their pregame routine. Like, I play Saturday, Sunday. I do my workouts Monday, Tuesday. I have most time in between. And so really for what's going on this season, especially in Vermont, some kids have been able to do more training because they're not playing games, but you also have to be ready to play in case all of a sudden you can go play games. So it's just about being flexible and being ready to play, but also be ready to get some extra training sessions in case you have that extra time.
And off of that, Ryan, I'll try and transition this into like what the schedule has become for them. So they have their first weekend, which is supposed to be against the Railers, because the Railers were coming from a county that had over 400 cases, Worcester being a pretty populated county. That number was never going down. So the Vermont comes to New Hampshire. They get just the EHL game done. And then everyone sits around in the hotel. We have to cancel the other 3 games. You fast forward to the next week. You're supposed to play Walpole at home. Both teams, 2 games each, but Walpole's county, similar to Worcester, the cases are too high. So that series gets shifted to Waterville Valley, which is where this week's games are. And not that you want to pick who you're playing, but you just jump right back into it with the Avalanche and the Express. And it's like, do you want to play an easier team first, or similar to what you're going through, just jump right in and let's play the best teams in the league right from the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, why not? Like, if you want to compete and have somewhat of, even if it's 5 games, it better be the most competitive 5 games you ever played. It's just great from a skill development standpoint. Is just get to practice and get better and fine tune your skills, and then you get to play. You get to still play games, and if kids that love hockey obviously and want to pursue the next level, they're going to take any game they can get, and any competition they can get. And looking at the other way around, you got to just keep training for what's next. Especially like it's heartbreaking for a lot of the seniors this fall, but it's one of those things where so what now what, and you got to think about it like, if you're lost your season, but you still got to train for life. Maybe you're someone that needs to lose weight, and you're looking at training from a different aspect. So training is more of teaching kids about a lifestyle rather than an event, right? You just got to focus on the process of training, whether it's, in hockey with the juniors, you're just focusing on getting better every day, whether you're playing or not. And then, teams and scouts and everybody, they will find you because everybody's in the same boat and they're watching it a lot of places you can't, we can't recruit yet. So it's just a lot of watching videos and hearsay from coaches. So if your coach, can vouch for you and knows you work hard and haven't given up because of the virus and just said, I don't want to do this anymore, or you're not giving effort, it goes a long way.
And for yourself, have you found that you've had to come out and give extra motivation at times for players? Like, you have to be, I don't want to say screaming in their face, but have you had to dig in and help motivate different players throughout this time?
Yeah, I've definitely learned and calm my temper at some things, just because getting them to understand, and because I'm very passionate, get fired up, but kids had the option to stay at home.
Yeah.
You had the option to stay at home and not come to school. So here are the rules. Play the game. So that's wear your mask. You can't party. You can't have gatherings more than 10 people. You can't go out to rest. You can't you can't leave the state. You can't. This is the rules you knew going into school. So if you're here and you want to get better, you're here. You're not going to complain about them. And I've had kids, going through the motions, like there's no point in being here. So, I basically said, there's the door. You can leave and not be a part of it, or stay and be a part of it and be a part of the solution, not the problem. And that's what it's kind of changed the culture a little bit, but it's a long haul, because kids, usually there's an October break and kids haven't gotten home yet. They've been here since, August 28th, and they might not go home for Thanksgiving, just because of during the state, you can only go home once.
Yeah.
So we're navigating through that, and it's going to be a mindset of, you were in a bubble because, the NESCAC just canceled winter sports. So we have an opportunity to still have a season.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I wanted to ask David, obviously it was different for you. You were living at home playing for your hometown Vermont Lumberjacks team that your dad owns, but there's been conversation about, the upcoming schedule for our league, a chance that we take off, or not take off. Kids don't go home for Thanksgiving. Winter break, I think we have to leave that in, but there's conversation about making that shorter. I know that you were living at home already, but if you're a player that is from California or from Europe or somewhere else, how would you tell them to cope with the fact that, yes, you're here and you'd love to get that break and go home, but the better place to be and stay right now is right here?
It's a really tough situation, and we all have times when we want to recharge and reset and go back home. I have that. I live in New York. I have that. I'm like, damn, some fall foliage in Vermont right now would be really sweet. But it's really it's in the interest of public health, and we have to think about the long-term thing. And the more we all stick to these guidelines, and the more we do, the sooner we're going to be out of it. And that's something that we collectively as a nation have not done a great job of understanding, that if we take the short-term miss of opportunities, et cetera, then the sooner we're going to be out of it. And so that's kind of how I would frame it, but it really depends on the situation.
And in terms of league events, right? You go to a game, typically, even games up in Vermont, because there's so many Division 2 and 3 schools like St. Michael's College. You expect to see the college coaches there. Now they're doing a lot more viewing online. How do you I know for our players, they're already accustomed to skating onto the ice, looking up and not seeing a whole lot of fans there to begin with, because we're a pay-to-play junior league. Fans don't pay big money to come to our games. If you skate onto the ice and the building is totally empty, what's the first thing that crosses over your mind?
We've had some dress like a seat nights for sure, and especially in Vermont in the winter when it's cold, have some like 9 a.m. Saturday games. You just play. The NHL did it. The NBA did it. Like, all these professional leagues are in the same exact boat, and there was some fun playoff hockey this year.
Yeah. And then Ryan, back to you and your team. What I find interesting about college hockey right now, well, I find it interesting about every sport. I watch every sport just to see what they're doing. I'm fascinated by the NFL. We're not going to go down that path. I just think it's amazing how they can just power through anything, which is because it's the NFL and it's the shield. But for college hockey, every division, every conference is different. You guys may play not till January, but as time keeps progressing and at this moment, it's not getting any better. Do you find it that players are coming to you and saying, you know what, Ryan, we're getting closer and closer to when they said we would start, and we're not going to? Do you feel like guys have that mentality, or do they still have a positive morale?
I try to keep it positive. There's maybe one or two, individuals across all sports that are kind of having a tough time with it. And it's just takes a conversation and focusing on being where your feet are and being in the now and just focus on the present. And that's kind of all you can do. I mean, the problem is, the decisions are above us. Like Vermont hockey would be a sweet schedule, especially as St. Mike's, just thinking about Middlebury. We play Middlebury, Norwich, UVM, Castleton, go across the lake, play Canton and what's the other school? Plattsburgh. Thank you. Yes. Plattsburgh. Like what an awesome schedule that would be. But again, that we're not the ones making the decisions, and with all the rules. But as of any 10, we just got to go by the travel restrictions, and I'm hoping that we could have somewhat of a competition season.
And what you just mentioned there is interesting, because that would be almost like a hybrid conference, if you will. And a USHL team just played an NA team this past week. Do you just want to play at that point? I mean, what's the message to those guys? I know you're playing. You could go out. You could get absolutely killed by a team that's higher level than you. But at that point, do you just want to play hockey games?
Oh yeah, you want to just compete. I mean, especially in Vermont, like there's good hockey. I mean, even the D3 schools, a lot of those kids, obviously, some kids got missed, and some kids are, it's just as good watching. And then why not play up a level?
Yeah, and hey, Norwich year in and year out at the Division III level is pretty much a wagon, which is a word I love to use. But one big topic that I wanted to get to with you guys that I mentioned, I didn't want to mention teams. Obviously, folks at home can figure out who's played what games and for what reasons they can speculate on their own. But we've had a few teams that have had positive tests. And obviously, with HIPAA and privacy, we don't want to ever come out and say names or this or that. But you have teams that have gone through full 14-day quarantines. You can't get on the ice. You can't leave your apartment or your house. What do you tell them? How do they stay in shape? How do they not just sit on the couch and play video games until the 14 days are up?
Yeah. I mean, you could provide this, like in the last podcast, kind of just equipment like a backpack and give them motivation. I think it's going to be better now because they understand when they came back, like how tough it is to get back in, hockey playing shape. It just from a workout standpoint, because some kids did do the stuff, some kids didn't. But we're kind of going to be in the fact again when kids go home, not just hockey, but other sports where they're not coming back early. They're not coming back maybe till February now. So you go home for Thanksgiving and you're at home at February. And I don't know. I don't feel if they feel comfortable going to gyms that are open with the mask and stuff, I'll give them stuff to do. But not everybody feels comfortable. I still don't feel comfortable going to a restaurant or in another gym, just for my safety, because I'm around. I'm as safe as possible. Try to be as safe as possible because I'm around kids all day, and if I get it, like I just spread it to every single team, and then that's just not good. So I take it really seriously, because around my family, fiance, people that live in my building, it's bigger than anything. So doing everybody's part is important, but staying in shape and you don't need a lot of space to go back to your point to get stuff done. And read, get off the video games, like stay stimulated, take online. You can take classes online, as we found that you can still do well and get the information that you need. Like what a great time to an opportunity to work on things that you haven't had the time to do.
And David, a full academic side of things, a former student athlete of the year in the EHL. How important would you say are the academics? I know we try and, beat it into all the players' skulls in the league to keep doing stuff. But, now as a college student yourself, obviously these kids want to be prepared when they get on the ice next. But at the same time, there's going to be a chance that they go to college and can't play hockey and only are focusing on their academics. So how important is it to make sure they're doing stuff right now?
Yeah, I'll speak to my experience, right? So I play for a Division I club team, but I live in New York City, and it is the perfect academic fit. It's the perfect social fit. It's the perfect intellectual fit for me. And I really chose that ahead of hockey. And I would really just encourage kids when you're looking at schools is make sure that the academics are a good fit. And imagine your life without hockey on campus. Would you still be happy? And if the answer is no, then it doesn't matter how good the hockey fit is. You should reconsider it.
And it sounds like for you want to play hockey again, of course. But with the school that you're at, if you were to never play another hockey game, you seem to have peace with that. You're okay with that because of the, excellence of the university.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And I guess I'll ask you the same quarantine question, but I want to spin it a little bit differently because we've had a few different teams go into it. Is there any different mentality for a team that's in quarantine that's had just one game played as opposed to a team that has, say, 6 or 7 games played?
Yeah, I think actually it can be a blessing in disguise right here for a team like the Vermont Lumberjacks who aren't playing a lot of games. They have a really unique opportunity right now to get extra training in. They're skating more than they would be. Every single player is getting more ice time. Coach Masso called me a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about adding some extra off-ice training for the guys. What do you think? Like, how do you think we should organize it?" And we have a great intern strength coach there, Nate Gaboria, who's going to be doing a wonderful job for them. So if you're not playing, then that's an opportunity to get extra development in that other teams who are playing every weekend might not get, and you might come out a better player 6 months from now.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming back on. I am a little bit surprised that when you compare it to April, not much has changed, but I think the message that you both have delivered here on this podcast is a strong one in that, everyone's dealing with this. Definitely Vermont, a program that has dealt with it, I would say, a little bit more than anybody else, not in terms of COVID cases, but just not knowing what the next day is going to hold. But like I said, the message that you guys delivered on this podcast, I want our players to really take home because, yeah, 1 week you may not play any games at all, and then you could have a week like this week for a team like the Boston Junior Rangers or Vermont Lumberjacks or whoever, and all of a sudden now you're playing 4 games in 5 days. You always got to be ready to play, and even for the college athletes, you don't know when your college season is going to start, but it may start at the drop of a dime, and you got to be ready to go. So I really appreciate you guys coming back on. Maybe we can do this again or sometime around the winter break. And maybe at that point we can be in a much better position across the country.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us, Neil.
Yeah, Neil, thanks for having us. Anybody, let's make this a regular thing. I have fun with these. And if any players want to reach out and have questions for like how they should be training right now during the season, it can be definitely tricky. So feel free to reach out to myself. I'm sure Ryan wouldn't mind either. So feel free to reach out to either of us.
Yes, I'll make sure to put both of your Twitter usernames in the post that we do when we send this out on Thursday. 2 guys that know exactly what they're talking about. That's for sure when it comes to strength and conditioning. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks again to Ryan Garrow and David Rosales for coming on the podcast with me this week. A lot of really useful information for all of our players with that interview. The key being you just don't know what your schedule is going to be. You could wake up one day thinking you have 2 games on the schedule. All of a sudden you have 4, and next week you have none. So in a COVID season, anything is possible, especially with the number of scheduling changes that I've had so far. But with that, let's bring in the E crew. It was a quiet week last week, guys, but when you look at this week's schedule, it's picking up and then some.
It's ready to go.
Right. It's nice to see some of these teams. Boston Junior Rangers starting to play some more games. And now we'll talk about some of the other teams that some restrictions may be getting lifted. And yeah, it's a welcome sight, Neil, to see more than just, what has it been, like the same 4 to 8 teams ish, 6 teams.
Well, the best thing was Kyle's text. I think he said something like, "We have 4 games tomorrow." Like, I don't usually like fist pump for 4 games, but we have 4 games. Like, let's go. We have 4 games finally.
Right.
And I think the day we're dropping this Thursday, we have 5 games. 5 games this year. It's like, woo, hold me back. Hold me back.
Woo. Keep him seated, ladies and gentlemen. Keep Neil seated.
But what's Jeff starting to get to, we'll get to as we start to go around the E-show here in a minute, but things are starting to kind of pick up a little bit. We'll talk about New Jersey opening up in just like a complete 180 out of nowhere. A state that was not playing hockey games, and the New Jersey 87s, the New Jersey Renegades, the Protect Junior Ducks could have all changed their first name to Pennsylvania because they were all playing home games in Pennsylvania. All of a sudden now it's like, boom, 180, we're playing at home now, which made my Tuesday very eventful to the point that the hockey TV staff personnel that I contact there for my scheduling changes was like, you sent me 18 changes on Tuesday. And it's like, yeah.
Oops, sorry, dude.
I did. And,
Typical day.
And
Right.
to Ryan McGrath's great point. Back in July, I went to Newington for the New England Conference scheduling meeting. And then I went to Aston for the Mid-Atlantic Conference scheduling meeting. And they were great meetings. I saw people that I wanted to see, but they really were kind of worthless.
Okay.
I'm not gonna
2020.
lie. I'm not
All you
gonna
have to say.
Too much has changed since then. But with that, let's start making our way around the E Show.
It's time for this week's segment of Around the E Show.
Around the E Show is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
And as we usually do with the Around the E Show, we work our way down the standings. And, you know, it's not that I don't want the New Hampshire Avalanche to be good, but just like we record this on Wednesday night, once again, the Avalanche are in first place. Like it's just routine for Chris this year. And I look at this year's team, and I know Brittany and I have had this conversation a lot in the past. Like, maybe it's just me so far on paper. I rank other past Avalanche teams ahead of this team, but they're 5-1-1 or 5-1-0, I should say, and their only loss is the game when Drew Blodgett stands literally on his head and makes 65 saves. Like, the Avalanche are just as good as they've always been, and they're right there, you know, already at this point in the season, only October 14th.
Same-ish, different day. Here we go. No, but seriously, like, I just feel like if you compare this year's roster to the first year roster, I feel like the first year team is better.
They were and like you look at other teams when they have Jake Atkins and Wiggle Kerbrat, and they have all these kids.
Oh, true. That team was a wagon.
Like, they just light up the scoreboard, and then this year's team just keeps winning hockey games. Like, and there's close games in there. One of you could pull up the schedule and see there's a few 1-goal games, but it's just like, I don't know if it's the experience that Chris has now, but it feels like every time there's a 1-goal game, minus the Valley game, he finds a way to get that goal when he needs it.
It seems like they're getting just a lot of scoring, like a lot of depth scoring this year too, Neil. If you just take a look at their stats, they have, I believe it's like 10 or 12 different guys that have put pucks in the net. Malco, who big Ryan Malco fan, as you guys know. I picked him once or twice.
That first week, and you were like fist pumping the entire time.
Because I think that was one of the first times, because since we started doing fantasy at the end of last year, it was one of the first times I actually got to watch my fantasy player. It's like we do on NFL Sundays. We watch our fantasy players and we're like, yes, touchdown. That was the way it was with Malco. Goal.
My fantasy football team, not to cut you off, won on the last play during Tuesday Night Football. The last
field
play,
goal?
And the touchdown. The weird, like, you go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Like, they're like running the clock, and then they just throw a touchdown pass to my guy, and I'm like, yes. I start like screaming. Vicky's like, it's late. Shut up. I'm like, no, this is awesome.
Oh, you shut up.
I have the worst luck in fantasy football. Not so much fantasy EHL, but that happened. And I was like, right. I am all in. But Jeff, to your point, one of us is picking an individual in fantasy who just scored his first EHL goal against the Lumberjacks, I should say. And it does feel like that, though. It feels like every guy has a chance to go out there and score for the Avalanche. And
I know who you're talking about. I was so confused.
It's the owner's it's the owner's son, Britt.
Right. But, sorry.
But it feels like I look at the team and I'm calling the games and I'm like, I've seen past Avalanche teams just have more success and stretch their way apart from other teams. And I've seen bigger goalies. George McMichael is not the biggest goalie in the EHL, but he just keeps winning. And they're right back there in first place. And you know what? Like, they're not going anywhere.
Hey, maybe Coach Sorrell and Coach Martinello's usual revolving door of goalies early in the season might be halted now. Maybe McMichael is taking the job over until further notice, until he, falls and dips, until his stats dip a little bit. He has been nails for them. But usually it takes them about, in the past few years, it's taken them at least like 10 to 15 games before they actually find out who their goalie is. They end up making a trade for somebody, and they thought it might be Oliver Quinn. Wasn't so much yet. And Now they've went with McMichael, and he's been unbelievable. Goals against under 2, save percentage almost around 960, and that's what you're going to need. You're going to need that if you're going to go a long way.
Trade for somebody, or trade Aiden Curry, an all-star goalie, or Ian Greif, a goalie that was phenomenal last year, to other teams to help them out too. So it's just, and they just bring in so many players. But one of the better logos in the league too, and probably one of the better hashtags. I know Kyle used it in Keeping Up with Kyle. Kyle, where does Roll Avs Roll stand with you?
Well, I think, we're talking about depth scoring. I think that's a fantastic point by all three of you. But if you look at the leaderboard, none of the Avs are in the top 10.
Nope.
And I bet Chris and Mario would say that's fine. They don't care.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do not care.
Which is fine. I don't even know if they rank in the top 15. That's a fantastic sign, especially when we win 5 out of 6 games. So, let's spread the wealth around, which is cool. And Curious George McMichael, what is he at? 4 victories?
Dude, his mom would laugh at that.
Curious
so
George
hard.
McMichael, 4 victories. I'm from what I understand, you guys have a better familiarity just from years past. He was supposed to be the guy, wasn't supposed to be the guy. Either way, it's get the job done. Roll Avs roll.
One of Brittany's
still,
favorite sayings.
And still, there's a couple other teams. Seacoast 4-1-1, New England 4-1-0, and let's not forget.
Roll Sevens.
We're talking about the New England Conference.
All right, sorry. I'll get there. All right, when we get there, I'll have my moment.
Oh my God.
Hey, there's only one team. Further? There's only one team who's undefeated. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Oh my God, we just skipped 10 teams.
Sorry, 10 teams.
I kind of wanted to acknowledge the Maine Eclipse. Yeah. 2 wins in the last week after 0-4. There's still teams in this league that don't have a win. It looked shaky there for Maine, but when I touched base with their head coach, he said, "You know what, Kyle, it really hasn't been that rough. Like these kids are still confident. They're still proactive. They're still positive."
Me and Neil were just talking about Reese Pullen before you guys came on.
Oh, he's a great kid.
He's great. 3 goals, 3 assists already.
What Kyle needs to do, though, is how Brittany got the Wolves to use hashtag Wolfbite. Kyle needs to get the Eclipse to use the moon emoji that you keep using. That it fits so well on social media. I'm like, there's the Eclipse, there's the moon emoji. It fits so well. Get the Eclipse to do that. That's your homework.
Do it, Kyle. You can do it.
That's my homework. That's my hockey homework.
Yes.
Hockey homework.
It's an emoji world.
Hashtag HH, my hockey homework.
The only other point I wanted to make about McMichael is I got to look this up to make sure, but I think he's the only goaltender in the league that actually shoots with the opposite hand. So he catches with the right hand.
Yeah.
So
I bet you there's another one, Neil. Sorry.
I don't know.
It's
rare, but I bet you there's another one.
I compare it to the left-handed pitcher in baseball, right? More common use of the right-handed pitcher than the left-handed pitcher, which just happens to be the hand that he's holding the stick with. But I'll look it up to make sure. Maybe he's the only one that's starting in the league. That's how I'll backtrack my statement. But we'll look into that for next week's podcast. But as Kyle mentioned, Seacoast right behind the Avalanche at 4-1-1. They were in first place last week. They did lose. The first win for the Maine Eclipse came against the Seacoast Spartans. Nikita Primak was absolutely phenomenal in that game, only letting 1 goal in, making 48 saves. That's how you win your first game in franchise history. The Wolves right there at 4-1-0. I find it funny that the 3 teams in first, second, and third place are all from New Hampshire. We'll watch to see how long that trend continues. Vermont, I know, loses a tough game today, but when Chris Sorella sends me multiple texts throughout the game about how good David Raduzzi is, first off, Chris, he was in the league in the league last year. He was in the league last year.
That's just such a mature thing for Chris Sorella, acknowledging others.
Now, I will
that aren't on his own team.
We need Vermont to get to the Frozen Final so I can announce him on the PA at Schneider Arena. I've been dying to say his name.
But speaking of Schneider, what's so funny about Chris making those texts, I want to be like, Chris, a few years ago, you asked me who Brendan Brawley was. And my response to you was he's the only guy that's ever beat you in Providence. Like, you got to recognize who these other goalies are. But then today he comes back with this text, and I'm like, thank you. Chris, the 43-year-old coach is growing up. Can I say that?
Yes.
but an excellent 2-1 hockey game. Obviously, Vermont's had a kind of a weird schedule. We're not going to get too much into the restrictions that they have because of all the states, it's probably as strict as anyone. And Jimmy said to me, with everything changing, and if you look, you can easily tell where Vermont's schedule is at, and so many games have been canceled. He's like, do I want to play the Avalanche now? No. If I win, yes. If I don't win, I don't know. But those are two teams that are going to, as Jeff said, they're going to be right there. That was the matchup, obviously, that should have happened in the second round last year. If I could ask to have that matchup again this year, I'd take it in a heartbeat because those two teams are going to be there right to the very end.
And you hope
they've been
BJR's
going
there
back
too.
and forth forever. Like, I just remembered last year, I feel like the Vermont Avs rivalry was like the strongest it's been, but it was intense. It was intense.
Yep.
Remember that one game where I was calling it at the ice den and the camera's up here, it's above my head, right? So I always stand on that last row like you and I did, Jeff. And all the seats in front of the place was packed.
Oh my gosh. You were like, you had your own like cage.
They wouldn't sit down. So Chris took like, I don't even know what you call them. You know, like when
those things that like divide lines, like if you're standing in line
at the security and they like put one this way and it comes back this way. And it's like a black pole and there's a strip that comes in between. So Chris made me a triangle.
Like a literal cage.
Neil's Bermuda triangle.
I'm like standing in the middle, like I can't even see the corners. So we'll just guess and see what happens down in the corner. But those are, as Brittany said, I think it's also a respectful rivalry because, of course, Jim also played for Chris Sorella. Like it's just crazy to think about. It's crazy to think about what that is. Then you work your way down the standings, and Jeff just mentioned them. I said it on the broadcast today. No idea how the Rangers were going to come back after having not played since September 18th. Let's just go throw 9 goals out there.
Right. What? Holy hell.
What?
When I like looked at the box score, I hadn't checked it like all game. And then I go to it and it's like 6-something. And I was like, hello, Rich.
They're
how
rested.
are you?
Kind of like the Titans were last night against Buffalo. They didn't play it or practice in weeks. And they were just like, we're good.
I said it on the broadcast.
Oh, did you? I swear I did not hear that.
No, I said it on the broadcast. I was like, you come into this game, Walpole has played 4 games, you've played 1. You would think less rust. All of a sudden, 4 goals like that in the first period. And then Walpole started to fight back. They got it to 5-3, and then 4 more unanswered goals from there. The moment of the game, though, for me, not why it happened. Jackson Legro threw a bad hit that got called for a checking from behind and a game misconduct. I'm sure he'll admit to it. Parker James comes right out of nowhere and challenges him to a fight. We don't endorse that.
No,
but
it's fun.
It was a great fight, and I looked to my right, and Legro's mom is right there taking pictures. And
oh my God, what a beauty!
And she just stops and she's like, because they are just going at it, and I'm like, geez, this is a lot. The mom is like right here, and the son is just. It was like rock and stop. They weren't dropping. They just kept going. And then the sun comes right back up, black eye and everything. I'm like, oh my.
Oh, wait, is that the kid whose mouth was gushing blood?
It was not pretty. And if you go listen to my broadcast or if you go watch it, I just like stopped talking. I forgot that I was on the air. And then all of the Walpole players went down below in that like lower bowl there in the ice den. So I actually get off the air to hang over the edge, so them they can't be down there, so you can see me on the camera. It was a wild time. It was
hey, get out of there! Hey, kids!
It was a wild time. But hey, the Rangers have another game the day that we're dropping this podcast against the Warriors, and a game against the Maine Eclipse. There's Britt's picture. That is.
Oh my!
There it is. Wow. Can we all see?
Yeah. So it's
a lot of blood.
To the point that we were making last week. Yeah, the Avalanche are 1. Vermont's right there at 4. But then you look at the teams that are closer towards the bottom. A Walpole, who I know it says 0-4-1, but they're better than that. And they've lost to Vermont twice. The Avalanche, the Rangers, and Seacoast. Like they haven't had. I don't want to say there's any easy game in our league, but like cut someone a break. Like that schedule is like gauntlet, and they play Vermont the day this podcast drops.
Yep.
I got to agree with you. I think we're all NFL fans here, right? Brittany, NFL fan.
Huge.
So much.
Saints fan, I think.
So
right?
I have
the
my
NFL
Saints blanket right here.
Fortunately enough in hockey, it's different than the NFL. Where in the NFL, you have 16 games. You start 0-5, you're in that hole. It's tough to dig out of that hole. Am I wrong?
No, you're definitely right. Hockey's
So
more of a marathon than a sprint.
We all have those teams like we want to pick that are going to make the playoffs, but the schedule is just tough, and they go 0-5, and then they probably go 7-2 down the stretch, but you're still sub 500.
Yeah.
I still have confidence in Walpole, just like I mentioned last week about Connecticut. Just a little concerned. 9 goals for.
Yeah.
24 against.
And they've had that was an issue for them last year.
While the schedule is tough, Walpole, I'm challenging you guys. Schedule's tough. I get it. 9 goals for.
They weren't a big scoring team last year. Not to be like rude,
but if you're not a big scoring team, you
weren't.
better have a heck of a defense. 24 goals against.
That's what they were last year. They were strong
15.
defense and strong in net, and they had the Falcon, as we used to.
They
call him,
did.
Tobias
The Falcon.
Who actually had a
Or
Falcon?
is this like a Gandalf Falcon?
No,
Tobias
No, he had a
Falconstead.
literal.
Tobias Falconstead.
He
He was
actually
amazing.
had a Falcon tattoo on his chest.
Love
But,
that kid.
but here's what we'll do. I'm going golfing with Cody on Friday. What is the message?
Again? What?
Yeah. What is,
Wow, shocker.
You
What
guys
are-
haven't played in so long. Neil.
Actually, this is a very long break for us. I had to explain that to Vicky. I was like, this is like
Are
a
you getting
hiatus
shakes?
for us.
Are you okay?
She's like, did you break up with Cody? I thought we were married. I was like, well, we're going down a weird path right now. Okay.
Oh my
But
God.
anyways,
He's married with a child. You're
Yes,
married. Yeah.
yes, with a dog child. Anyways,
For
a child.
what is the message from the E crew to the Walpole Express on Friday? They do play
Get
Vermont
pucks
tomorrow.
in the net, people. That's
Bring
all
the
I
Falcon
got.
back. Can we get Falcon back?
We import him from
22?
Sweden.
Is he over 20? Is he aged?
I'll let you guys go first. I have a message, but
Oh,
Well, they
Get
got
pucks
their-
in the
that
net.
was- that was their
Ladies
message.
Yeah,
Ladies
just
first.
get the pucks in.
get the pucks
Look.
in the net.
fellas, I've been there. I've been on underachieving teams where it's 0-4, and it's tough. It's tough to walk into the locker room, or maybe you're getting dressed outside. God knows where what
Oh,
happens
yeah.
these days.
Good point, Kyle.
Because it's
Good
true,
point. Yep.
and it's not easy. But the first 5 minutes are all about emotion. Doesn't matter what happens in the past. You can't look too much forward. The first 5 minutes of that game are all about emotion.
Mhm.
That's where you establish your real estate. You hit those boys early on. You got to hit everyone. Get hit, be hit.
Mhm.
Do whatever you need to do. It's all about emotion. And I know you guys are laughing at me, but
No.
it's true. When you're
All right, so we need to get
no,
Kyle a
you need-
TED Talk.
No, that
you,
fight
to,
today.
to get a victory, you got to put a guy who was scratched the last two games in the lineup, block a shot.
No, like you
Get
said, that's a good
pucks
point,
deep.
Kyle. Like you said, that's what in the NHL, you always go back to the pros, right? That's what the pros do. Sometimes you're having a rough streak. All of a sudden, you see on that third or fourth line, that gritty, grinding type guy comes in that can lay a hit, start a fight, at least be a pest. And I don't know, I think that's great. I think they just have to, and sometimes you just have to go back to basics too. Get pucks to the net, get bodies in front of the goaltenders, create some traffic, do the not so
One of
creative.
The worst coach I ever had in hockey once told me, good things happen when you go to the net.
Yep.
Thank you, coach.
Absolutely.
But to Kyle's point, that fight happened today, and for like a 5-minute period, the ice was like this, pointing in the Rangers' net. Like Walpole was like the building was on their side. They were like screaming for everything that they did. Terrain threw a huge hip
Good.
check, and I was like, this is wild. Like they're gonna come back and win this game. Then the Rangers scorers just did what they did, and it all ended. But
Had a little
with that,
finals feel to it, huh, Neil?
a little bit. We'll shift down to the.
Oh, and Mel Druckl got an assist. Just saying.
Yes, he looked
I
good.
saw his name and I was
He
like,
looked-
Johnny!
he-
I'm picking him.
He looked good. But with
Johnny
that,
Alphabet.
Brittany
Johnny
already
Alphabet.
beat us to this earlier, but we'll shift down to the Mid-Atlantic Conference, and you can
Heck
say what you
yes.
said. You can say what you said again.
Yep, here we
Roll
go. Rick-
sevens, baby. Get up, Belmar. That's like a kind of an inside joke, but just get up, Belmar.
Get
Get
up.
up.
All right.
Get
Belmar-
up, Belmar.
Belmar is on the beach, I believe, down there. Correct?
Belmar is on a
Belmar.
beach. Very good.
Is that by Red Bank?
Belmar is, it's by me.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm
so
sorry,
get
trying to
up,
give out my
Belmar.
location here.
Oh,
So
Oh, I'm
Six-
so
six-
fired up for this. 6-0.
6-0
Let's
and
go.
I know
oh.
her teeth. She's
And
ready.
like you look up and I've had this conversation with their coaching staff, so I can talk about it here. You look up a Dante Terramani and Tim DeBoard, and they've played okay, but they haven't touched how good they can be yet.
Heck
and
no.
And that's like scary.
That's scary. That's
like,
very scary.
I feel like Nick Swain last year, low key. It's the
now, beauty of this league, though, right?
Oh, yes. Now solid. Second in scoring. Kids going off. Might be my fantasy pick. I got no idea. It is what it is. We'll get there.
Should I read a direct line from my Stars of the Week post?
Absolutely.
After joining the 87s in mid-December this past year, Swain tallied 16 points in 25 games. 16 and 25. Do you know what he has? Do you know what he has right now?
I think he 14. He has 7 and 7. I'm pretty sure.
14. He has 14 points in 6 games.
He's rolling 7.
He's rolling 7. Oh my God, I love this.
So he has to get.
Nick, you can't move your stat line for the rest of your year.
He has to get 2 points. 7. He has to get 2 points in the next 19 games to match what he did in 25 games last year.
That's crazy.
I'll take the over.
I'm sure Coach Hooley and Coach Kiernan have done some work with them. And going quickly back to the Rangers from earlier, I know we're in the Mid-Atlantic, but I'm assuming that's what they did too. Some of these teams that aren't playing, they're going to scrimmage each other. They're going to play against each other and try to work on things. And I'm sure he was one of the players that Coach Hooley and Coach Kiernan looked at and said, hey, this kid's got some talent. We can get a little more out of him if we work on things in the offseason. And especially in this kind of offseason, for him to excel the way he did and probably didn't have much ice time and probably just hit the weight room a lot if he could, but then also weight rooms were closed. And I feel like he deserves like an extra bit of respect for improving his game in a year like it's been.
Well, what's great, Jeff, when you go back and listen to the interview with Ryan Garrow, the strength coach from St. Michael's College, and David Rosales, also a former strength coach and player in the league, he said the best piece of equipment at home that you could turn into a weight is a backpack. You just fill it up with stuff and carry it around.
Things. Yeah.
I was like, well, okay.
Cause back problems. Jeez.
Well,
depending on what you're putting in there, bowling balls, books.
Isn't that why like we all have like sciatica? From like growing up in the 90s with heavy backpacks.
You have to have the good posture though, Kyle.
Let's get this
very good posture.
Good posture. So you're gonna have straight back and always straight back with the backpack.
Hey, the guy obviously is a specialist in this, Kyle. So I'm taking his word for it. We're gonna have a backpack strapped on my back, and then up front at some point we'll put it on the side and just keep doing squats and whatever and get stronger that way. That's my goal.
You can do push-ups. You can do squats with it. You can do a lot of. That's a good point. It is. Sometimes you have to do. I mean, that's what a lot of people had to do is go back to the basics. Do body weight exercises this year. I don't know if that was part of Nick's regimen.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have a raw egg tomorrow in my glass tomorrow.
Ew.
Is right.
Wait. Also, Sevens just added somebody else back. I don't know if I'm allowed. Oh yeah, they did. Am I allowed to say
from last year?
Yes.
Insider.
You can say.
You know what? I don't care. I'm gonna say it. Come out my throat.
Can I tell you how I want you to say it?
Oh.
Sure.
Inside sources have told Brittany Hart that there is a potential that the 87s add back who to their lineup.
Good old Matty B, Matt Valinsky. Hey, hi, how you doing?
Is a talented scorer to add to a team that is already talented.
Still figuring itself out. But we're 6-0. We're plus 17. Our goals for, goals against. Looks great.
Can we see this kid's birth certificate?
No, it's real.
I'm kidding.
He began the year in the NA last season with the 87s. Nice. He had 35 points in 38 games.
So no Danny Almonte issues there. We're good.
He was my boy. I was his age,
Danny
I think,
Almonte?
when he was making that run, and I was like, this kid's
glory days of the Little League World Series. Glory days.
Yes, this kid's throwing 120 miles per hour from 30.
He was like 19 years old throwing a 13-year-old. It's like, get out of here.
But the 6-0-0 87s at a 35-point guy.
Oof, that's not
fair. Are you
fair.
kidding?
Wagon, here we go. Fire me up.
It
must be nice to be 6-0-0 and try to you're still figuring stuff out. You're just scoring almost 2 goals for every goal you give up.
So we'll all get off of our 87 soapboxes for a second.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's go to the rest of the Mid-Atlantic. There's other teams there
so much that they actually popped.
They did.
How about Team Maryland? Neil?
Well, hold on. Let's that. the same question as last week, guys. Who was the second best team in the Atlantic Conference?
IDK.
Definitely not Little Flyers, huh? They sunk.
Oh my God!
Well,
all right. Let it be known, I did not say that.
The Little Flyers. They've had a tough schedule. They
played
the 87s 3 times this year. Jefferson.
All right. Still, what have you done for me? 1-5. I don't know. Oh, we can go with. I haven't been able to see them yet.
We're just talking about how good the 87s are. Oh, the Little Flyers have gone downhill. They played the 87s, this deep team, 3 times.
But Kyle, the 87s are still trying to figure it out.
Dude, you're on the top of ALO's hate list, and I can tell you that free of charge.
So you know how I type in the description where different things happen in the podcast? I type in the minutes. I type in the minute that the interview starts when we get to the show.
I've never looked at the YouTube.
At whatever time this ends up being, I'm going to put in that time and say that the E-Show podcast went off the rails again. Thank you for that moment.
Wait, so Brittany,
I know. Sheesh.
Am I on ALO's hate list already? Does that
with that comment, you're at the top of the maybe second person on the list.
We'll give him until Friday morning when ALO typically listens to this. Around 11:30 a.m., I'll get a text. Tell Jefferson he's out.
Literally.
Out of the circle, right?
Right.
Hey,
I'm still going. Wait, I'm going Team Maryland second.
Team Maryland.
I know,
second.
Hypothetically speaking, they are third, but I can't get over the Hosses, i.e. the Rough Riders goaltending. It needs some help. I'm not sorry.
That's Kyle's point. He made that point with the Walpole Express, right? Look at those two teams. Would you rather have a +6 goals differential or -6? That's a dumb question, I know, right? But
it's true though. They can put
the
goals
Rough
up in
Riders
bunches,
forwards are gross.
You won't be able to survive 9-6 all
hockey
year.
lingo. Gross is good.
Like I said last week, not that I think I'm special or smart or anything like that, but Connecticut 4 wins in the last 5 games after, no pun intended, that rough start.
Is that good?
I think we were all
rough ride.
We were all skeptical. God. We were all skeptical about Connecticut. Like after it was like, oh wow, like Connecticut, you guys had a great year last year. Now it's like you guys are 3-1, 4 wins in their last 5 games. Technically in second place right now. I get it. They've played like 20 games. The rest of the league has played 5.
Truth.
But let's give credit where it's due. I think
Colin Beller and Tyler Bunapane. Thank you.
Yeah,
you should just like their 2 names should be like thanks. The rest of the team should be saying thank you. Thanks, guys.
So I just think to their start and it almost seems like they're in a little bit of a transition, and they responded. So I give credit to Connecticut, and how could I not give credit to?
There we go. We're getting more off the rails. Here we go.
More off the rails. Wait, Niall, what are you doing?
As Terry Watt tries to call me.
Wow.
The head coach of the pro. You can't make this up.
It's like he sensed it.
You can't make this up, guys. You can't make this up.
He heard the whistle.
The other point I wanted to make for the Rough Riders before we move to Protect Junior Ducks. So we have an announcement to make with that. We sometimes call the Rough Riders the Hosses, a nickname. They now have 2 nicknames. In a phone conversation I had with the Hicklings, who were on last week's podcast and are coming to shoot games, Margaret Hickling kept referring to the Roadrunners, and I'm like, who are you talking about?
Roadrunners.
Well, we don't have a Roadrunners in the league. The Connecticut Roadrunners. Is
she thinking about the Phoenix Roadrunners?
I'm like the Rough Riders. Like, there's no A in there. There's the A in Roadrunners. She's like, I'm calling them the Roadrunners. I was like, okay. Roadrunners it is. So Roadrunners, Hosses, Rough Riders. But Kyle, last week you defended yourself by saying that while Jeff is a Wolves fan / Rangers and Britt is an 87s fan, like wait till we get to our fantasy team. I dropped
the Avs. I dropped them right off my list. See you later.
Shocking picks by Brittany this week.
And I am a closet Wizards fan. You are now the new communications manager for the Protect Junior Ducks and their broadcaster, and you have the duck whistle. You're all in.
Round of applause. Quack, quack.
Quack.
You can't deny it. You can't deny it now.
Congrats, Kyle. That's an awesome.
You're gonna call the games? That's exciting.
Yes, the first 2 games.
Oh yes. Yes.
Damn it. Everyone on this podcast calls games. Hey, I will say it right now. Neil said I get to call the game Avs versus Vermont. Get up, Ice Den Arena.
Are you
It's
doing
the day
color
after
or
my
play-by-play,
birthday.
Britt?
Obviously,
Very
the
cool.
color. Jesus Christ.
Could you imagine? This is gonna be Britt. If Britt was doing
play-by-play. So-and-so to so-and-so. He sucks. What a bop.
Oh, they put it in the corner. He gets absolutely bundled. Oh my god.
Of course he did. 'Cause he's annoying. Have you
Is he
seen
gonna
him?
get up? Oh my
So-
god.
Wait, I would so be like, blah, blah. He's annoying.
like Britt, the puck's in the net, the line's changed, it's the period's over, and you're what? Where are we?
And I'm still going on. I almost said someone's name, Jesus.
Yeah,
About
hockey,
blah,
Color you
blah
can do,
being
color you
annoying.
Hockey TV calls me up. Hey, Neil, this is so and so from Hockey TV. We are being forced to take the game off the air. So,
Jeff Hagan, looking on his bad list.
but
Oh
I'm
my
excited for you,
God.
Kyle, to call the
Thank
first
you.
2 home games for Pro Tech. I know for you, I'm sure the distance that the drive was gonna be has cut down significantly because these 2 games on Thursday and Friday were supposed to be in Hatfield in Pennsylvania, and
They're at the pond?
they're in New Jersey. Like
Yeah,
Right,
they're
at
at the
the
pond.
pond.
Out
it's
the
just
pond.
the ponds,
Yes.
the ponds, plural, more than one pond.
Whatever.
They
We only play on one.
Ponds,
It's just-
ponds.
You're from New Jersey. This came out of nowhere, right? Like they no one even knew about this. And what I heard, the rumor is that it's a document was on Governor Murphy. Is that who it is?
Yes.
It's like
Okay.
Chrissy's
I
replacement.
think it was on his desk is what the rumor is, and he's just like all of a sudden was like, I'll sign that now. That's
Wow.
the rumor, right? But you
Let's
live
not
in
question
that
it.
you live in that state,
Get up.
Kyle. Like this came out of nowhere, right?
I mean, a week ago, we weren't sure about what was going to happen. 2 weeks ago, I was telling you, I was like, we were lucky to have indoor dining, and
Like
it's
Aaron
gonna
today?
How the heck?
it's gonna get
That's
cold
right,
here in
you
New
did say that.
Jersey,
Yep.
and I may or may not have been in touch with certain sports teams, not just hockey, football, etc. Over the last 2 weeks about whether or not they're going to have a season, and it didn't sound good. But all of a sudden, here we are. We're playing hockey in New Jersey at the Ponds.
Nice,
At the
dude.
ponds,
How,
at
how
Jersey
far is that rink from your
Shore.
house,
Yeah.
Kyle?
About 40 minutes. It's not bad.
Oh, perfect. That's
But
good.
imagine
awful.
going
Really not
another
bad. It's an easy
hour,
40-minute drive, though. If that makes sense.
another hour past that to Hatfield, 45 minutes.
Hatfield, yeah, it's about hour 20.
Yeah, much better.
So-
It's Philly.
I'm excited for your first games as a broadcaster of the Pro
Thank you.
Tech Junior
Yeah.
Ducks,
Oh, I'm excited to tune in.
and
yeah, me too.
your first goal call tomorrow, which probably will be Braden
Braden
Patricia.
Patricia.
but we'll see when we get there. But working
Yeah,
down the
that's
rest of the list, kind of similar to some of the teams up north. Connecticut Chiefs only played 3 games so far. The Little Flyers, maybe what we'll do, because they've both had tough schedules, we'll have some sort of comparison between the Little Flyers and the Walpole Express, because
Yeah,
two
fair.
teams that are
Sounds good.
contenders, but are who would you rather face? The Avalanche, the Lumberjacks tomorrow 3 times for Walpole, and the Rangers, or face the 87s 3 times. It's there's no easier schedule, really.
Yeah, they're perennial playoff teams. If you look at both of their track records, they have both been in the playoffs many years. They're not used to being in the bottom. This is
No.
different area for both of them.
I was saying today to somebody, like talking about the 7600, and then I was like, remember the 18-19 Little Flyers team? Ew. But I know the team that
Yeah,
went
they
to the
lost 3
final.
games all season. 3.
Right, ew.
3.
Like gross. So that was the comparison I was making. I was like, oh, I missed
Trivia.
that team.
Trivia.
Trivia. It was the junior Flyers when they went against
No, I'm not.
Little
you know-
Flyers
you
that
know
I'm
what?
talking about.
If I say trivia, I have to ask the question.
But you always talk about that one Little Flyers team with Giacomo's kid.
I want to know who the 3 losses were against that year.
Avalanche.
Avalanche are definitely
One.
Probably Ravs.
Vermont.
Nope.
Uh,
The
Connecticut?
other,
Going Ravs.
the
I'm
other
going Ravs.
two, the other 2 were the same team.
Little
BJR.
Fly-
Nope.
No.
Apple Core.
Nope.
No.
North Carolina.
Oh, now we're off the rails. Now we're off the
No,
rails.
no,
with
no, no,
the
wait,
North
wait,
Carolina
wait.
comments.
I'm gonna guess. I can't remember to save my life, but I'm just gonna make
Oh,
a random
New
guess in
Hampshire.
Whizzies.
You're in the wrong conference.
All right, the Hosses,
No,
Hosses. That's
the only team you haven't named.
dude. The Junior Flyers.
No,
I have no idea.
The 87s beat them twice. The first year the 87s were in the EHL. Two of the three losses that the 43-0 Little Fire, sorry, 43-0 Little Flyers had that year were against the 87s.
Wow.
So
now we shift to the P, and just like in the EHL, Avalanche P 6-0 first place, plus 17 goal differential.
It's kind of crazy. It's only their second year in the P.
Next closest team is at 5 points. Now the Rangers haven't had to play as many games or gotten to play as many games so far, and that 5-4 overtime victory for the Avalanche over the Rangers on Columbus Day, where I had a photographer text me and say, "I thought you sent me to an EHLP game." I did. That's an EHLP game. This is as fast as an EHL game, though, is what he said after that. And I was like, that's great to hear.
I've seen both teams. Like BJR's P team, I had to score keep one of their games. Ew. Yes. They're like, I know they lost like Ryan Bailey, Johnny Alphabet, like some others.
And they're still
some
nasty,
others, but you can't. But it's like you can't tell.
They've reloaded.
They've reloaded. Facts.
And it's almost the key thing that we have to watch for in the EHLP. We are so far away from playoffs, I know. But the current setup pulls one team from each division into Providence, right?
Yep.
So you look at the standings, and you have a favorite in the first two divisions right now. I think it's fair to say, safe to say also, New Hampshire Avalanche, North Division. Okay? Mm-hmm. Boston Junior Rangers, Central Division. Safe to say right now. South Division, Kyle mentioned it in Keeping Up with Kyle, when the New Jersey 87s and the Little Flyers get together, it is always a good matchup.
Oh my, there was just so much. Yes.
It's always a good matchup. And I think they've faced twice so far this year, or 3 times.
I think and the Little Flyers, always just like something always like it's always something.
Twice in last week.
Yes, Little Flyers won the first one 5-4 in overtime, and then I think it was a 6-3 win for the 87s, and then 6-4 for the Little Flyers.
Borisov went off.
When you look at the schedules 600 times, you just start to memorize this stuff. My head is just mush at this point. But I talk about the two favorites in the other divisions, and I don't want to discredit the Renegades, who are having one of their best starts, in their history in this league. The Chiefs, who are off to a 3-2-0 start. Shout out to Jeff's broadcast partner from the Worcester
Alex
Showcase,
Herman!
Alex Herman, with his 41 save shutout the other day.
Well done, Alex.
And they're contenders, right? But if you were to tell me that there was a playoff series that happened between the 87s and the Little Flyers for the P and for the chance to make it to Providence, yeah, of course. I'd put money on that being the matchup. Who wins that matchup? I have no idea.
That's a whole nother question.
There's a ton of kids on that team. Brittany just mentioned one name that are like 03, 04 year birth years. And I'm like, this is disgusting.
Dude, Ivan Borisov is an 03 and he's
I'm 91.
gross.
I'm
16, 17-year-old kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Ivan's an 03. Kid got star of the week last week.
150.
He's just like he's a little Russian. He's Ivan.
160 pounds soaking wet, and it's like,
dude, kid is I probably weigh more than Ivan Borisov. That, I'm not even kidding.
Bold.
Does he lift the barbells like Pavel Datsuk?
Oh my god.
No, kid isn't that jacked up. But that's all right. He's only an 03 years of that.
So with that though, we cover around the East show. I mentioned there's a lot of games coming up in the league this week, but now we're going to transition. We always seem to hint at it throughout the podcast. So now we'll get to the what to watch for, which of course includes the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
And it is time for the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge, brought to you by Bertucci's Brick Oven Pizza and Pasta, your home for authentic Italian dishes, catering, and group dining. Check out their party pizzas and specials at bertuccis.com.
Before we get started, we will recognize the stat change for Kyle. Kyle, when you have a shootout that is a 0-0 game, the goal against will not count against the goalie.
Sure.
It's not a shutout though. Sure. It's not a win either. Eric Buchholz, of course, is who we're referring to.
Eric Clay Buchholz, yeah.
Yes, so we're giving you that 1 point back. I am truthful when I say this. We have never had a 0-0 shutout where one of the goalies was picked in the fantasy challenge. So we have not known.
Get up.
We have not known how to address that. So to rules commissioner, Justin Squitieri. We got to come up with a title for him. He made
graphic
a ruling,
designer extraordinaire / rules commissioner /
Literally,
super
mediator.
fan.
he made a ruling that the goal against should not count against Kyle because he's not getting the win anyway. So there's that point back.
Yep.
But with that, Kyle, you didn't have the strongest week this past week.
No.
So that means you get to pick first this week. Just to recap, you had Clendenin Stewart, Jake Frankenfield, and Peyton Duran all combining to get you 14.6 points. So you pick first this week at 79.2 total points. Who are your picks?
Well, I mean, let's give credit to Frankenfield. I give him like the whiz with shout out. And he goes out there. He scores a pretty nice goal.
Yeah, end to end.
Come on. And the little
it wasn't my top plays of the week.
Yeah, Tom Wilbs, hell of a call.
I love that man.
All three.
It was pretty cool.
He had 3.
It was pretty cool, guys.
He had 3 of the 5.
Tom's
I
awesome.
understand. I fully acknowledge I finished in last place this week for fantasy. So, no offense to any of the players. This is a business. And I've got to go back to the drawing board.
Well said, Kyle. Well said. It is a business, all right?
At forward, K Yasada from the
Yasuda.
Yasuda.
Sorry,
mess up,
Kay.
Kyle. Don't mess up.
I've called him Kai. I apologize, Kay.
Having a great
Get it
year.
right.
Having a great year.
He's filthy. Actually, it was
Yeah,
Kyle.
seems-
You just posted the other day. He's just a point in every game so far this year. For New Jersey,
Yeah,
right?
at the minimum, he's a point per game. So, I mean, if I'm going to pick first, I'm definitely going to take advantage of that.
That was smart.
Anyways, on defense, I'm going to go with Brit squad, Robert De Niro Martinello.
Yeah.
Oh, Robbie.
Mario's boy.
Yes, Mario
Coach Martinello.
who just scored his first EHL goal. And
Oh, well done, Robert.
Like-
Proud.
like honestly, I'll say this out loud. If he's not number 1, he's number 2. He's one of the top defensemen on the
and
Avalanche.
he's 17
I got a good
years
feeling
old.
about him.
Yeah.
He's
young, dude.
like
He's-
the
Yeah.
game that they lost, he didn't play. Coincidence?
Oh,
I don't
And
know.
Robert-
when we met him after the game that we called together, Neil, in his father and Coach Sorrella's office, I like his demeanor. He's a very he seems very mature
stern.
at age.
Oh,
Well,
God. He's
well,
so
keep
funny.
this in mind. Keep this in mind, Jeff.
He's a sturdy defenseman.
We had men's league at the ice den. I'm sorry to cut off your picks, Kyle. This is a good story.
Trust
We
me,
had-
you have nothing to apologize about.
we had a men's league game at the ice den over the summer. We played Tuesday nights.
Oh, it was a
And-
grand old time, I'll tell you that.
I'm on Mario's team with his brother Michael and Roberts, and I did get yelled at once by Mario not to get back and actually play some defense. I said the league does not do that, Mario. But how seriously Mario takes pickup hockey? Being his son, I'm sure Robert goes home and hears everything that he did wrong today in a day that he scored a goal. So he's a tough kid, like you said, calm, knows that it's a long year. Maybe what he's done so far has been good, but he hasn't earned anything yet in this league. So I do love that defensive pick, Kyle.
Yeah, that was
Wait, remember
pretty
when
cool.
Mario snapped his stick in the summer? And he was
Amazing.
I've never seen the man so mad in my life.
I had
I
my
mean, maybe
so
a few
these-
times,
So
but
these
it
are
was
the boards.
hysterical.
These are the boards, and I had my head down like this. I was like, if I look up, I'm gonna start laughing, and the next stick is going over my head. So I could not look up.
Dude, I was in the score box. It was hysterical. All right, continuing. Goalie. Who you got?
Gonna stick with the Avs. I'm gonna go Curious George McMichael. They've got 3 games on their plate. I'm gonna imagine that he's gonna play in 2. So it's a numbers game here for me this week.
Confirmation he's playing against the Seahawks. There you go.
Excellent.
George McMichael's mom. Great woman. I love that lady. Shout out George McMichael's mother. I love her. She's a beauty.
Continuing on, Britt's picks are next.
Sorry, I just love her.
But
All right.
you're trending in the right direction with not picking last, Brittany. So that
Right. Guys, I
well
haven't
done.
picked last.
2
So
weeks in a
last
row.
year, I know, crazy. Last year, I had my all Avalanche team. This year, you people guessed it. All 7s. Here we go. All right. Well, Kei Yasuda was taken, so I couldn't take him. But you know what? Nick Swain, as I referred to earlier, powerhouse. Second to Kei Yasuda, not worried. On defense, last week I picked Georgie. This week we're going Cal Coel. played in a league we shall not name last year, but here he is. He's ready. He's transitioned to the sevens. We're in the EHL. We're having a good time. Next, I was a little back and forth. I was like, which goalie do I go with? And I was like, you know what? We are going to go with Matt Sales. And with that, I say Belmar over everyone. And we can now move on.
So do you have inside information, Britt? Is he starting over Kopak?
I know he's playing on the day this drops. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well,
I at least know he's getting one game. And you know what? That's good for me. Whatever.
And when it comes to Brittany's goalies, she will reverse the curse this week, is what we're going to say.
Dude, no, I'm reversing the curse. Like I'm confident in sevens tomorrow. I already know. You know what? I'm going to guess I'm getting 3 power play points tomorrow.
Oh, what time is that face off? I'm already going to look forward to that.
No idea.
It's,
yeah, what time is that?
I want to say it's at 11:30. So
nice. Get up.
For the second week in a row, I am picking third, which I think is an okay spot. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you're in the latter half.
Yep. I'm going to start out at forward, Connor Ball. Quietly one of the top forwards in the EHL, in my opinion. I don't think he gets as much recognition for, playing down south for Maryland, who a team that we haven't got a chance to see as much or talk about that much yet. But in 4 games so far, 4 goals and an assist and a game winner. And this week, I have to just confirm this to make sure. Yes, they are playing 4 games. Thursday and Friday against the Pro Tech Junior Ducks, Sunday and Monday against the Little Flyers. So the mentality that the more games you play, the more chances you get. Connor Ball, I'll take you up front. On defense, I have been told by the Vermont Lumberjacks head coach Jim Mosso that
Jim will hype anyone who plays for him, but
that
keep
this
going.
player is as good as Corey Doney, who, as everyone knows in this podcast, just
your nephew
just loves me.
Uncle Neil.
Uncle Neil.
And
all-star weekend last year, best of times.
Yes, and Lucas Duran, an 0-1 defenseman who I have seen play once and can skate as well as anyone in this league. I'm feeling good about the week coming up for him and the Lumberjacks. And then between the pipes, I knew at some point I was going to pick this kid for wishing me a congratulations for my wedding. Nice kid. I appreciate that. Also, he's 6'4", which is just mammoth in goal. Rhett Weselek, who I know, since we're really getting into the confirming when our goalies are starting, he's playing Friday on the 16th against the Valley Junior Warriors. So last time out, he had a shutout in that game we were talking about with Kyle. He had the shutout in the 1-0 shootout win for the Spartans over the Express. So let's make it 2 shutouts in a row. How about you? How about that, Brett?
Chill.
That's a good way to stay on the good side of Neil.
The best part about this fantasy is 1 week you can pick last. The next week you can pick first, I should say. The next week you can pick last. So Jeff, you had a good week this past week. Colin Bella and John Kopak. Bajon and Schutbach was like, I'm gonna get all my points when Neil picks me.
Yeah, thanks, Bjorn.
and not Jeff. But it lines you up to go last this week. So who are your picks this week?
All right. So starting off, the boys are back in town. The BR game play, and since I saw him in person that first game against the Avalanche at forward, we're gonna go with Mr. Ryan Bailey because he's got 3 goals, 2 assists. Ripped it up in the P last year, as everybody knows. 41 goals, 59 assists, 100 points in 42 games. Is that good, Britt? As I always ask you. Yep, that's pretty good.
Not bad. Decent.
And maybe we'll see if Malandrukulo, his old P buddy, jumps on his line. They could maybe recreate some of last year. We'll see with that. And he's got 2 power play goals already this year, so we got to get the extra points for the power play. BGR playing 2 games. Then we're going to go to defense. Going a little off the rails here, maybe. Curtis Birthright from Team Maryland. They're playing 4 times. He already has 3 assists, 2 of those coming on the power play. So we're going to hope Curtis gets us some more apples this week. Maybe even a goal. Hasn't had one yet this year. Didn't have any yet last year, but perfect time now. Like you said earlier, Neil, 4 games. I'm going to hope that Birthright gets at least a couple of apples. And last but certainly not least, David Raduzzi in net for the Vermont Lumberjacks. I'm going to save my actual call of his name to hopefully say in the beautiful confines of Schneider Arena, which I just saw the other day. Mark Divers said that they got a couple of new chillers at Schneider Arena and that the ice is beautiful in Schneider. Not that I don't think it was bad before, but I guess the Providence Friars, they Coach Lehman and the gang are.
Oh, we lost Jeff for a second there, but I'm sure we lost you for a second there. Coach Lehman and the gang, what?
Oh, so I guess they just decided they wanted to get a couple of new chillers in there and get some even better ice, and we'll save David's
Well, it's typically like not bad temperature for us in there, so maybe it'll turn into a.
Oh man!
Well, let's hope it doesn't turn into a breakaway mid-January.
No, thank you. No, thanks. Thank you. Next.
But just to recap the overall totals for everyone.
No.
I have to. We're on the podcast. I'm at 96.4. Kyle at 79.2. Jeff at 75.2. Brittany at 55.4. But you are starting to close that gap, Brittany. And last year, your all Avalanche week was a big one for you. So maybe the all 87s week will do the same. As I mentioned before, a lot of games on the schedule, including 5 the day we dropped this podcast, which feels like almost like 15 at this point in 2020. Christmas. So we're excited about that. We'll do a quick cheers to Brittany's new apartment. And
Kyle's new position.
And that Kyle's new position. And Jeff, you and I didn't do anything. So quick cheers to that. And a big week coming up in the East show. So obviously, you can watch all of our games on Hockey TV. Follow along at easternhockeyleague.org, and we'll talk with you guys next week.
See you later.
Good. See you, gang.
See you at the rink.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.